What you learn in the next few minutes could completely change your financial strategy. Whether you're a new homeowner or nearing retirement, before you make another mortgage payment, you need to understand the powerful impact between the choice of paying off your mortgage early or investing that money into the stock market. I have to say that I'm approaching this problem differently from most everyone out there, and I guarantee you that the results may surprise some of you out there. In fact, I may have even changed my own mind in researching this video.
Interest rates are to asset prices, sort of like gravity is to the apple.
Interest rates are gravity.
And with interest rates for mortgages being at 6.94% for today's borrowers, that is a lot of gravity to be feeling on their finances. But when you're talking about a debt of hundreds or thousands of dollars, even a mortgage rate of 4%, as great as that sounds in comparison, is still a lot of pressure, especially when you consider that in the first 13 years of a 30-year mortgage, a person is paying more each year in interest than they are in principal. This is because of how home loans are more heavily weighted in the beginning of the loan to pay off that interest. This is due to the amortization schedule. Look, banks want to make as much money as possible on the loan on the front end. And I'm pretty certain that it's not a coincidence that the median years of home ownership is around 13 years. First off, there are a lot of variables to consider with this choice, like the interest rate on your loan, the time that's left on your loan, and of course, the total amount that was borrowed. Because of this, I'll show all the resources that I used within this video so you can go in and try to see what makes the most sense for you and your situation. To create a baseline for this discussion, we need to know the median cost of a house within the United States, and that happens to be $407,000. In order for this video to be useful to a broader audience, I'll create my examples for 3 different home costs of $200,000, $400,000, and $600,000. I'll show the potential of 2 different outcomes of either paying off that mortgage early versus investing that money. But what if a person watches this video in 3 years and the interest rates happen to be around 4%? Well, I'll also throw in a 4% example as well. And I know there's a few viewers out there thinking to themselves, Brian, using simple math, a person would immediately know that any loan at 6.94%, it would be better to invest your money back into the stock market because the average S&P 500 return over the past 20 years is just over 8%, right? Seriously, am I missing something here? Yes, there may be something that we haven't even considered. Remember that amortization schedule that I mentioned earlier in the video where the loan happens to be front-loaded with the interest? Well, it happens to make the math a little less straightforward. And that's where the surprise comes in.
Surprise. Surprise.
But if you don't like surprises, then investing into S&P 500 ETFs with 𝐓𝐸, the sponsor of this video, may be an easy choice for you. 𝐓𝐸 is a Silicon Valley-born investment app. You can use it for one-stop investments in ETFs, stocks, and more. And the best part is that all of these are commission-free. On 𝐓𝐸's market page, you'll find ETFs. Click on the S&P 500 in Index ETFs to view and compare these ETFs that you want to invest in. You can check annualized returns and Morningstar ratings to understand recent 3, 5, and 10-year performance. Clearly, higher star ratings indicate worthwhile investments. And you can use an indicator analysis to evaluate return ability, cost effectiveness, and the risk. 𝐓𝐸 helps you simplify selecting your S&P 500 ETF by comparing the management fees and the other factors. Plus, 𝐓𝐸 now supports cash sweep, which I'm a big fan of. New users can open an account, deposit their funds, and enjoy a limited time 8.1% APY on their uninvested cash, earning money while you're waiting to invest. Additionally, new users receive 15 free shares of stock and a $300 cash reward for transferring to 𝐓𝐸. Don't miss out on these rewards. Use my link to get started now. I'll walk through the exact math on a $400,000 home at today's 6.94% mortgage rate. I'm using a site that's called calculator.net, and no, of course, they are not a sponsor. I'm merely sharing the resource in order for you to be able to use it for your own situation. So with this $400,000 loan at 6.94%, it will have a monthly payment of $2,645. And when the loan is fully paid off, it will have cost us over $952,000. But what if we put in an extra $500 a month towards the principal starting today for a total monthly payment of $3,145? That 30-year loan would now be paid off in 19 years, saving us over $226,000. Now, if we invested $500 a month into the S&P 500 with an 8% average return for those 19 years, that's $257,000. And this is a point where a few of the viewers will say, see, Brian, it was obvious that investing had a higher return than paying off the mortgage. The $257,000 investment is more than the $226,000 in interest that was saved. But wait, there's more to the story. Now stick with me on this. Because we paid off the mortgage early, each year that we aren't paying on the house, we can now be investing that total amount of the $2,645, which happens to be the mortgage, plus the additional $500, and we can put that into the market up to that same 30-year mark that, well, we would have been paying a mortgage on anyways. So if we invested $3,145 a month for the 11 years that we cut off of our mortgage, it results in $650,000. And when we add in the $226,000 in interest savings from paying the loan off early, the total is $876,000 in total from paying off early and investing the money. And when we compare that to a full 30 years of a $500 a month investment into the market, that only comes out to $704,000. So paying off the mortgage early wins by about $172,000. But wait, there's even more. So what if we cheat a little to make it improve even more? If we had chosen to pay our mortgage bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, instead of once a month, then we save about another 3 years and about another $50,000 in interest. And if you aren't familiar with this option, we can all pay our mortgages bi-weekly. For instance, if your mortgage payment is $2,000 a month, then you'd break it in half and pay $1,000 every 2 weeks instead of that full $2,000 once a month. And this creates a massive savings because the amortization schedule accounts for interest accruing on a monthly basis. By paying it bi-weekly, you're now greatly reducing the interest that's accruing on the loan. Honestly, I think that everyone should be doing this regardless of your interest rate because you can easily cut out 2 to 5 years worth of payments and interest by only changing how you make your current payment. However, not every lender gives you this option for an automated bi-weekly payment. So if you have to do this manually yourself, there is a little bit of risk that you need to consider. If you have an escrow that pays the mortgage, the insurance, and the taxes, then your payment amount changes if the insurance or the taxes change at any time. You need to ensure that you are on top of that, or you may underpay the mortgage payment if you set it up bi-weekly by yourself. It's just a risk that you need to be aware of. Now, getting back to our example of paying bi-weekly along with the $500 extra payment, we pay it down roughly 14 years early with an interest savings of $276,000. Then we invest that mortgage payment that we were making of $2,645 plus the $500 for 14 years in the market, and it makes us $946,000. And when you add in that $276,000 in interest savings, that's $1.2 million, which is substantially higher than the investment option for 30 years at $704,000. Now, when I go through this process for the $200,000 and the $600,000 homes at 6.94%, paying off the mortgage early and reinvesting that full mortgage payment and the extra $500 up to the 30-year mark, it outperforms the $500 investment route by around $400,000 to $700,000. And I find that to be very compelling as an argument to paying off the mortgage early. But that is based solely on the market averaging 8%. If the markets can average 11% or more, then the investment angle is probably going to be better. Now, if I were buying a home today, I would go with paying down the mortgage early because it's a guaranteed return. And the peace of mind from having a home paid off early, that happens to be a psychological weight or gravity that would be taken off my shoulders, and to me that's immeasurable. All of this happens to be based on the high mortgage rates today. But what if you buy your home in the future at 4%? When I run through the whole example again for 30 years, paying off the mortgage early comes in at $763,000 versus that investment option at $704,000. In this case, paying off early just barely wins under my original assumptions. Now, there may be many of you out there with rates around 4 or 5% on your home that you bought several years ago, and you probably are wondering if you should pay it off early or invest that money. And it all depends on how many years you've already been paying down that front-loaded interest. Now, if you've had your loan for 4 years or more, then the investment angle does look to be better. But once again, you'll want to run your specific details through the same type of calculators that I did. And if you happen to be interested in some of the best ways to invest in ETFs or stocks, then feel free to check out one of these other videos on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.